The rain fell in a relentless torrent, drumming against the roof of my car as I navigated the winding mountain roads. The night was shrouded in a thick fog, reducing visibility to mere feet ahead. My GPS had long lost its satellite connection, leaving me alone with the unending darkness. I had taken a detour, hoping to find a shortcut through the mountains, but now I found myself lost in a labyrinth of mist and trees. The headlights cut through the fog, casting ghostly shadows that danced along the wet asphalt. Anxiety gripped me as the isolation of the mountainous terrain sank in. As I rounded a bend, a dilapidated sign emerged from the fog, barely visible in the dim glow of my headlights. Whispering Pines Inn, 5 miles, it read, the letters weathered and worn. Relief washed over me at the prospect of finding shelter for the night. I pressed on, the rain intensifying with each passing mile. The road narrowed, flanked by towering pine trees that loomed like silent sentinels in the darkness. The branches overhead intertwined, forming a natural canopy that shielded the road from the relentless downpour. The air grew colder, and an eerie stillness settled over the forest. After what felt like an eternity, the Whispering Pines Inn emerged from the mist, a silhouette against the haunting backdrop. The building stood as a relic of a bygone era, its Victorian architecture cloaked in a patina of age. I parked my car and sprinted to the entrance, seeking refuge from the storm. As I entered the inn, a gust of wind extinguished the solitary candle that flickered in the dimly lit foyer. The air felt heavy with the weight of secrets, and the creaking floorboards beneath me echoed in the silence. A sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach, but the allure of shelter and warmth overshadowed my apprehension. The innkeeper, an elderly man with sunken eyes and a stooped posture, greeted me with a weary smile. He handed me an antique key, its metal cold to the touch. "Room 13, he muttered, his voice barely audible over the howling wind outside. The narrow corridor leading to my room seemed to stretch endlessly, the floorboards groaning beneath each step. The walls bore faded wallpaper, peeling in places to reveal a tapestry of forgotten patterns. The air was thick with the musty scent of age and neglect. Upon entering room 13, the atmosphere shifted. The air seemed charged with a strange energy, and the dim glow of the bedside lamp cast elongated shadows that danced along the walls. An old, ornate mirror stood in the corner, its reflective surface tarnished with age. As I settled into bed, the silence of the room was shattered by a soft whisper that seemed to emanate from the very walls. "Leave this place," it urged, a spectral voice that sent shivers down my spine. I dismissed it as a trick of the imagination, attributing the unease to the eerie ambiance of the inn. Unable to shake the feeling of being watched, I turned off the bedside lamp and succumbed to the embrace of darkness. Sleep eluded me, and the hours passed in a surreal haze. In the dead of night, a haunting melody drifted through the corridors, a mournful piano playing a tune that echoed with the pain of bygone years. I ventured into the hallway, drawn by the phantom music. The source led me to a grand ballroom on the inn's ground floor, its doors ajar. The room was bathed in an ethereal glow, and a lone figure danced in the center, an apparition in a flowing gown. The ghostly woman moved with an otherworldly grace, her every step a dance with the echoes of the past. Her eyes met mine, and a profound sadness lingered in their depths. The haunting melody reached a crescendo, and the room pulsed with a spectral energy. "Leave this place before it claims you too," she pleaded, her voice a distant echo in the cavernous ballroom. The ghostly figures of a forgotten era joined her in an ethereal waltz, their translucent forms a testament to a tragedy long buried in the annals of time. I stumbled backward, the weight of the supernatural encounter pressing down on me. As I retreated to my room, the whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices imploring me to escape the grasp of the haunted inn. In the pale light of dawn, I hastily gathered my belongings and left room 13 behind. The innkeeper's gaze lingered on me, a knowing look that sent a chill down my spine. The storm had subsided, and the mist-covered mountains seemed less foreboding in the early morning light. As I drove away from the Whispering Pines Inn, the memories of the spectral encounter clung to me like a lingering fog. The rain-soaked road stretched ahead, winding through the mountains and away from the haunted echoes of Room 13. The mysterious inn faded into the rearview mirror, a cryptic chapter in the journey of a solitary traveler. The old creaking sign at the entrance of the abandoned town welcomed me with faded letters that barely clung to their posts. "Welcome to Ravenswood," it whispered, as if the very air held the secrets of the town's forsaken past. I had stumbled upon it during a road trip, my curiosity getting the better of me. The moon cast an eerie glow on the dilapidated buildings lining the main street. Broken windows stared back at me like empty eye sockets, and the wind whispered through the decaying structures, carrying the echoes of forgotten lives. I parked my car near an ancient gas station, its rusted pumps frozen in time. A chill ran down my spine as I stepped onto the cracked pavement, the silence oppressive. I walked the deserted streets, the only company being my own echoing footsteps. As I explored, a peculiar sensation washed over me, a feeling that I was being watched. I dismissed it as the product of an overactive imagination, but the sensation persisted. Shadows seemed to dance at the edges of my vision, and the air grew heavier with each step. In the heart of the ghost town, I discovered an old, weathered mansion, its grandeur now reduced to a skeletal frame. The front door creaked open at my touch, protesting against the intrusion of the living into its desolate domain. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and neglect. My footsteps echoed through the hollow halls as I wandered through the mansion's forgotten rooms. Dust-covered furniture stood frozen in time, and faded portraits adorned the walls, their eyes following my every move. It was as if the very essence of Ravenswood had seeped into the walls, trapping the memories of its bygone residents. In the heart of the mansion, I discovered a grand ballroom, its once polished floors now marred by the passage of time. A dilapidated chandelier swayed gently, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. The room seemed to pulse with a strange energy, a heartbeat long forgotten. As I stood in the center of the ballroom, a haunting melody filled the air. A phantom piano played a mournful tune, its keys moving with an ethereal grace. The room came alive with the spectral echoes of a long-forgotten soiree, the laughter and music of a bygone era echoing through the desolation. In the midst of this surreal symphony, a figure materialized at the far end of the ballroom. A woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the veil of time. She moved with an otherworldly elegance, her every step a dance with the echoes of the past. I watched in awe as she twirled across the ballroom, her movements echoing the melancholy notes of the phantom piano. The air crackled with a palpable sorrow, as if the very walls wept for the days that once were. In a whisper that transcended the confines of time, the spectral woman spoke, her voice a mournful serenade. Ravenswood was a haven of dreams, now lost to the shadows. Beware the echoes of the past, for they linger in the silent spaces between reality and memory. As her words faded, the ballroom fell silent once more. The ghostly figure vanished into the darkness, leaving me alone in the spectral embrace of Ravenswood. The town's secrets, unveiled through the haunting ballad, clung to the air like a bittersweet melody. With a heavy heart, I left the mansion and the forgotten town behind. Ravenswood, with its ghostly ballroom and spectral echoes, became a chapter in the story of my travels. A tale that whispered of a time long gone, entwined with the enigmatic threads of the supernatural. As I drove away, the abandoned town disappeared into the rearview mirror, swallowed once more by the shadows of its own history. The night was dark, the kind of darkness that swallows the road ahead. The only source of illumination was the dim glow of my car's headlights, cutting through the velvety blackness. I was driving alone on a desolate highway, surrounded by a sea of trees that seemed to reach out and touch the stars. I had just left a friend's late-night party, and the alcohol from the evening lingered in my system. The road stretched endlessly before me, and my tired eyes fought to stay open. The rhythmic hum of the engine was the only company I had in the silent night. As I drove, the road became increasingly unfamiliar. The GPS on my phone had lost signal miles ago, leaving me alone with the winding, unlit path. Unease settled in my stomach, but I brushed it off as a side effect of the alcohol. I squinted into the darkness, trying to make out the road signs, but they seemed to be swallowed by the shadows. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the distance, standing in the middle of the road. I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest. The figure was shrouded in darkness, and my headlights struggled to pierce through the obscurity. Panic gnawed at me as I realized I was in the middle of nowhere, alone and faced with an unknown presence. I rolled down my window, the cold night air biting at my skin. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. The figure remained motionless, a silhouette against the inky backdrop. Dread coiled in my chest as I contemplated my next move. Should I reverse and find another way? But the road behind me seemed to stretch into oblivion. Summoning courage, I cautiously approached the mysterious figure. As I drew nearer, details emerged. A tattered, mud-stained dress clung to a slender frame, and long, disheveled hair obscured most of the face. The figure appeared to be a woman, but something about her sent chills down my spine. "Are you okay?" I asked hesitantly, my voice barely audible over the whispering wind. The woman remained silent, her gaze fixed on some unseen point in the distance. I took a step back, a sense of foreboding creeping over me. Without warning, the woman's head snapped toward me, her eyes gleaming with an otherworldly luminescence. My heart pounded in my chest as I stumbled backward. A voice echoed in my mind, a haunting melody of forgotten lullabies and distant screams. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice a spectral murmur. The air turned colder, and the once silent night was filled with the distant wails of a spectral choir. Fear clung to me like a suffocating shroud. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call for help, but the signal remained elusive. The woman's gaze bore into me, her eyes reflecting an ancient sorrow. I stumbled back to my car, the engine now a feeble hum against the cacophony of ghostly whispers. As I sat in the driver's seat, the woman approached, her movements ethereal. I locked the doors, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The car's interior felt claustrophobic, a cage in the face of the unknown. The woman reached the window, her ghostly visage inches away from mine. Her breath fogged the glass as she whispered, "Leave this place. The night hungers for wandering souls." Her words echoed in my mind, a dire warning that chilled me to the core. With trembling hands, I shifted the car into reverse, the tires crunching on the gravel beneath. I glanced at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the woman disappear into the night, but she remained, a specter in the glow of my taillights. I sped away from the haunting encounter, the road unwinding before me like a sinister ribbon. The echoes of the spectral choir lingered in the air, and I dared not look back, fearing what unseen forces might be trailing me. As I drove into the endless night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had glimpsed something beyond the realm of the living, something that lingered at the crossroads of reality and the supernatural. The road stretched ahead, an enigma shrouded in darkness, and I couldn't help but wonder if I had narrowly escaped a fate far more ominous than the shadows that had pursued me.